we've done this. All right. Everybody got full screen? Back me up,
Yes.
Debbie. There you go.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome. Today is July 23rd, 2015, our open mic call for midsummer. We're halfway through it. The summer has been extraordinarily busy with almost 40 departures for June, July, and August. I spend a good bit of the day trying to get host documents prepared more than anything else, and responding to your emails and requests as quickly as possible. But if I haven't been as in touch over the last few weeks via email, it's because the sailing schedules themselves have been just that busy. So I apologize for that, and hopefully once we get through August and into the fall, we'll be in a regular routine. A regular routine for me would probably be 10 to 15 hosts out during the month on a ship, but the summer months, that easily goes to 30 to 40. And sometimes that means 3 people leaving on the same day or disembarking on the same day, or in 1 week 8 people leaving. So because you all receive host documents, you've got to know how hectic that can be to get you your dates and times information, or where's your cocktail going to be, your manifest. We've also had some reporting issues with Celebrity and them being the largest supplier in the group. If I don't have their manifest every 2 weeks, giving you guys information that's 6 weeks old, no fun when you get on board because of changes or people that bought in last minute, that type of thing. So it's been a particularly hectic July. The reason for wanting to go over elements of a host packet this month is for that very reason. I want to actually perform the steps that I do to send you the information, much less when you get it. I want you to see a portion of what I have to do just to get it ready. So when I get that email, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in advance, saying, when can I have it? Can I get it now? If I respond, that there are 17 people in front of you who are leaving a lot sooner, I say that just to move quickly, not so much. I try. I don't think I'm ever rude, but I just want you to know I'm working as fast as I can. But if I show you some of these elements, it will not only help you feel better about what you're going to have to do when I send it to you, but what you can do in advance while you're waiting on me to send you those materials. So that's what we're going to go over today. But first, we'll go on to the next slide. I want to talk to you guys about shore excursions for just a moment. Everybody, for the most part, unless you're on a Holland or Seabourn sailing, has worked with Claire and her team at Excursions Limited. During the summer months, there are a lot of 7-day European, a lot of 7-day Alaska sailings. And when we have a 7-day, not only are they port intensive, but the shore excursion, you have less time to have 3 and 4 days in front of your excursion to meet your passengers, have the cocktail party, and get us a count of how many people are going to participate in the tour. With Alaska this month, we've had a lot of issues with that, where either we weren't hearing from the host at all. One group had over 200 passengers. We were holding 4 or 5 coaches, and we don't know if we've got 23 people or all 200. That presents a huge problem, and I think Claire and her team go out of their way to make sure you have very specific details about, the guides, what their names are, their phone numbers if you need to reach them. And it also, there are deadlines and costs associated with that operation. So I want to show you guys what's important about getting that information to Claire, but when you have shorter sailings, why it's so critical, and just in general, why that's so important from the moment you get on the ship. So we'll cover that briefly, and then 30 days before you're sailing, what should you be doing? What do you need from Office Depot or Staples? What can you print? 3 months before I send you a host packet and working with files on board, how do you do that if you need to? So what's my shore excursion? In all of the emails that I get from the group of 300 plus hosts, this is one that I answer at least twice a day. And as host, I expect that you all, when you do get my emails, to read them a little bit. And I feel like this one is one that should be a no-brainer. For the most part, you're all agents. So there's two ways to find your excursion information in advance when it is available. I understand sometimes tours aren't always published, but if it's not a Holland or seaborne sailing, you can go to vipatsea.com, the site that Excursions Limited built for our tours. You can go to their homepage, pick the supplier, the date, the ship, and see what tour it is that we have planned, where it is, what you'll be seeing on the tour. It's not the elaborate final itinerary document, but if you want to know what your tour is going to be, and they're working on the 16 tours now, I ask that you at least try looking here first, as well as on Agent Universe, which I'll show you in just a moment. But these details are generally there 3 to 6 months in advance. If for some reason you've booked passengers onto your sailing and you'd like to find a way to pay for their children, third, fourth passengers, or even if you're a host and you're on board and passengers would like to pay to add on extras, this is where you'd go to first to find excursion information. And then, of course, there is Agent Universe. I would say 99% of you probably know about this page. But it's also where you can find excursion information in advance. On the right-hand side in this column is shore event flyers. I should back up to say that you find Agent Universe. There is a Distinctive Voyages Host resources page on the website. You would find it from this main menu under Programs, followed by Cruise Space, Distinctive Voyages, and Distinctive Voyages Host. It's a cascading menu, so when you hover over programs, these options are how you're going to locate this whole page. So on the right-hand side, shore event flyers, it doesn't open up a page, it opens up an Excel spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet is the tours that our marketing team keeps up to date with the flyers. I think they remove the older tours as they've passed each week or once a month. And when you scroll to the far right, there is a link where you can see the color flyer that I actually include in your host package. While I'm at this point, are there any questions at this time about how to find my DV tour? And Debbie, I'll ask that you chime in just so that I know you can hear me.
No, I don't have any questions.
But you can hear me just fine, so good. I would expect everyone else can too.
I hear you fine.
Awesome. Okay, so this is what I mean about the detail that Claire and her team puts into making sure you have all of this tour information. When I send you your host packet, this document is included. You don't get this document if you're hosting on Holland and Seabourn because their excursions folks provide the tours for us on DVs. But there is a deadline in this box that there is nothing more critical than working to get that final passenger number by the day and time they indicate here. I think it's usually 48 hours prior to that Claire needs to say to her transportation contacts how many coaches and guides that they'll need. So when you get on board and you've delivered your host packages, making the cabin call to follow up to say, "Hi, I'm Salita. I've just delivered a folder to your door labeled Distinctive Voyages, and within that folder are a number of documents, but it includes a complimentary shore excursion in Kusadasi on Friday, day 6 of the cruise. I invite you to join me at a cocktail reception tomorrow from 5 to 7 in the Quasar Lounge. But I also ask that if you would like this complimentary, no obligation tour in Kusadasi, that you return the document passenger waiver form so that we can have an accurate head count for our tour. Again, welcome aboard, and I look forward to meeting you at the cocktail reception. Now that's totally off the cuff, but if you understand, how I'm trying to place emphasis on this, it's because when you have a 7 or 10 day, there is a much smaller window for all of that to happen. So passenger waiver form is needed for each cabin that has 2 signatures on it. You don't need one for each person. The 3rd and 4th passenger would also need a waiver form, but you can have them sign one on the morning of when they check in if they haven't done so already. And I'll show you how to edit your passenger waiver form to this last point in just a moment. But also, before you leave home, we really need you to confirm that the email address we have for you in this document is the one you'll be checking. Because if it's your office email, but you use your Gmail when you travel, please let me and Claire know. For the most part, you all are really good about that, but I'd appreciate it that if going forward you all start to reach out to her just before departure, if you haven't heard from her already, hey, just so you know, I'll be using this email address, and just copy me so that if we need to reach you, we certainly can. Um, this particular set of Alaska sailings in July and August has been problematic for me because, you're in U.S. territory. If you can't get on your email, and I know it's a port intensive 7 days, so it's like call somebody, call the guide, text the guide. I'm going to start to share my cell phone number so that you can text me if you're on some of these 7 days itineraries, because we need to know. And I understand that ship internet isn't always reliable, but there's got to be a backup to that. And I don't want that to be the excuse for not contacting us, especially when you're in the States for the most part, and can be in touch. Uh, just an FYI, if you're a T-Mobile carrier user, international texting is free. So I don't know if that's the case with others, but it might be good to find out in the event you need to, text me or text one of the guides, that type of thing. So forgive me, but I just heard an email come in and I didn't want it to pause the presentation. Can you all still see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I hope all that makes sense. There's a deadline here and there's your email there at the bottom. Those are the important things to note. And if you're a new host and you've never seen this document before, sometimes Claire emails it to you and introduces herself before I get it to you in your host packet, or vice versa. Sometimes I'm first. It'll be attached to an email that I'll send you, and then she will end up sending you the same document because she's introducing herself and whatever expectations logistically they'll have for your excursion. All right. So again, getting final numbers. Bring extra waiver forms to the cocktail party, because as we know, you delivered that folder, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it. They love to say I didn't get it. So as a backup to that, bring some with you. And if someone they got it, but they didn't bring it to the cocktail party, you've got it there. You can lock them in and, start your counts from there. It is helpful to, at your check-in table, have a stack there along with some of the shore excursion flyers, and be able to answer any questions about it. Oftentimes, passengers will say, well, why do I have to sign something? The easiest way to answer that question is it's a field trip permission slip form. The cruise line is not providing this tour. You are just saying that it is okay that the cruise line is not providing this tour. We understand it's a third party and we'd love to go with you. Say it with a smile and they are fine to sign it every time. It doesn't waive their right to anything, and we, I think, take really good care of our passengers, so there's no reason for concern, but I hear that question come up and hosts have asked, how do I answer that? So I find that saying it's a permission slip for your field trip. They usually get a giggle out of it because most of us have been parents or grandparents and they understand. Um, and during your office hours is another place to bring your waiver forms. Having those available in case they want to commit now, they don't have to go back to their room and find you later or drop it off to guest relations. So that's that. All right, let's get into this host document stuff. Before we do, are there any questions from the 50 people that we have in the room at the moment?
No.
So far, so good. Anne Marie has a question. She has raised her hand, and Anne Marie, I think I've unmuted you. It says you're unmuted. You're welcome to ask your question. All right. Maybe not. I see there are several hands raised. If you do not have a question, if you could select that icon and put your hand down. Host supplies. The month before you're sailing, we will ship you a FedEx box. And it came to my attention from folks that are new and haven't done it before. They opened the box and what you see in this image is all they got. And they were confused by that. What do I do with this? It's not enough information. So no, we know it's not enough information, but this is what you'll need when I do finally send you a host documents email. The shipment includes folders that your documents will go inside of once printed, letterhead, DV brochure. Here's the 2015. The 16 book should be available. I heard the first or second week of August it will be in the building, as well as name tags for you and your co-host, as well as name stickers for the shore excursion. You don't put these in the printer. These go on your passengers' shirts on the morning of the tour. Some write their names on them, some don't. It's up to you. But I love addressing people by their name, so I bring my markers and I ask them to write their names on their name badge, so while we're on the bus, I can speak to them directly. So that's what comes in that box, nothing more, nothing less. If you have a box come sometimes and there's no cruise brochure, that'll start to happen in the summer months. It's because book's pretty much almost over in terms of its dates, and once we start to run low, we don't send them out as much. So you should all start receiving the 16 books here, I would say, with the September, October sailings. Host supplies. I do not provide the Sharpies in the FedEx box that we ship you, nor do I supply the Avery labels that are used to put your passenger's name and cabin numbers on the front of the folder. So if you host more than once a year or you plan to host during the year, Walmart, Staples, Target, they all have these in smaller quantities. I think you can get 50 to 100 sheets in a box. I'm sorry, not sheets. A small quantity box where it may be like $7 to $10. It's a great office supply to have, and you probably want to pick some up if you're hosting in August, September going forward, because you'll need those. And if you noticed, I wrote my name phonetically so that those of you that say Saletta, it's Salita, Salita. That's for some of the newer folks that I've been speaking with, and it's funny. People still here in the office almost 3 years later still say Saletta, but there you go. The host package email. We're going to highlight these so that my image pops up here. Here we go. So just before your departure, the email is going to come and it will have anywhere from 8 to 10 attachments. Your passenger manifest will be in this email, the welcome letter, the dates, times, and location sheet, guest comment cards, shore excursion flyer, logbook that you all are emailing to me now, which is just notes on things that may have occurred during the sailing, the final itinerary that we've spoken about, as well as a host survey and a host package checklist. If you accepted an assignment last minute, the host packet checklist won't necessarily apply to you because you haven't been marketing the sailing for a year to 6 and 9 months out. So sometimes the number of attachments varies just based on how long you've been hosting. Some of you, I could just send you 4 documents now with your host packet and you don't need the rest of it. I'm not doing that yet, but I suspect I could do that with a number of you at this point. Where others, I am still attaching certify information, how to leave a voicemail. It just depends on, your, I guess, abilities and how new you are as to how much I attach. So um, that's basically it. The host document email itself, when it comes, it looks like this, when at all possible. If I have the name of the ship coordinator, I am trying to give you all that more in advance, but sometimes these folks are on the ship for 3, 6, or 9 months, so the name isn't always the same, but I've been trying to include that more and more in some of the emails. When you get the email, and this happens way more often than it should, someone will reply and say, but I don't see the manifest, or I didn't get the welcome letter. If you use an email program that has a scroll where your attachments are, please scroll down. 9.9 times out of 10, that attachment is there. You just can't see it because you haven't scrolled down. So I did want to point that out. If you are using Gmail, Yahoo, or a work email server, that's going to vary. But before you ask me to send you your manifest or welcome letters again, look for that and see if it's there. Can I take any questions at this point? All right. And if anyone joined the call late, you are certainly welcome to unmute yourself for the duration of the call. You would do so by, to the far left of your name, check or uncheck the red slash through your microphone, and you are free to speak whenever you need to. Just jump right in. What goes into the welcome packet? So you've gotten your FedEx box, you've gotten an email from me. How does all of this come together? Yes, there are a lot of attachments, but you only need 4 to 5 of these documents in the folder itself. So on the front of the folder, you would mail merge a label. I know some of you don't know how to do that. I am going to attempt to do that with you today, as well as I've sent out some video links that show you how to do that. But that goes on the front of the folder. And on the inside left pocket, it has always been my preference to put the color shore event flyer as well as the passenger waiver form together on that side of the folder. You certainly don't have to print it in color, but if you can't do that, I would like to ask that you have a, what do you call it, a colored sheet of paper on that side. And then on the right side, your welcome letter and your dates and times document would go in that side. So any questions about the left or right side of the folder?
No.
Wonderful. I have an asterisk next to guest survey because if you have a small sailing, I think it's fine to stick your guest survey inside the folder. If you have a large sailing, large meaning like 30 or more people, it's my preference to carry the guest surveys on the day of the excursion and hand them out at the end of the tour, either on the way back to the ship or get off the bus first, and between you and your co-host hand everyone, one of the surveys. But you've told them on your way back, when we get back to the ship, I'm going to give everyone a guest survey. We absolutely would love and do request your feedback. A $25 shipboard credit will be made available to someone randomly when we draw. We'd like to know how you enjoyed the tour, and it's a part of grading my performance as your host. So large groups, I would give them out later because it's hard to get it back if they've lost the folder before the tour. All right. Okay. Not bad out of 50 people on a phone. So a moment ago, I was speaking to the passenger waiver form. I guess at some point they called passenger ticket contract. It's all the same. On mine, when I host, I put at the very top of it this note about it being a complimentary tour in Costa Rica on this day, and return it to me by this day in time to the guest relations desk. I just think it's helpful. It highlights it. You don't have to print it in color, but I think if you place it up there or use a highlighter to go over it, it certainly draws attention to the fact that, one, it's free, there's no obligation to it. This is the port day that it's going to be in, and I need to have my count by, April 1st, and that must be, a longer sailing. It must be a 14-day. Because that's the 5th and I needed it back by the 1st, so I got it 4 days in advance. That's pretty good. Has anybody else had experience with this or done anything to try and get those back?
I let everybody know on the phone when I did my calls.
Okay.
Is it just you and me?
Yeah, I feel like it's a one-on-one, but it's good. Great co-host. Thank you, Debbie. I would love to see, let's see. I'm not going to pick on anybody. I see Kate's hand. Kate, do you feel like hanging out with us today if I were to unmute you? I just tried to. I think you have to do it yourself. She may be busy. Kate, can you hear me?
Nope. Yes, I can.
Nope, she can't hear me.
Hi, Kate.
Do you mind sharing how you go about getting your passenger waiver forms back before your excursion deadline?
Selena, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I couldn't unmute myself. Sorry. Yeah, I do what Debbie does. I let everybody know when I need to get it by, and but I like customizing it and putting it highlighted. That works great.
This one is one from, I guess it was earlier in the year, but I think now I would add the day because people speak in day 6 and day 4 on board. Giving them the actual day and a time has been helpful with this group of Alaska folks we've been working with. If it's noon or 9 p.m. the night before the deadline, that type of thing, try and maybe add, those 1 or 2 details to that comment on this form. So it's really, really helpful to have that number as far in advance as possible. And I know it's hard to get it all done, but little things like this help highlight it and point it out to the passenger as well. So at least we can say we've made every effort to reach out and make the passenger aware of the deadline so that they don't miss the tour. All right.
Selena, one thing kind of related. This is Kate.
Yeah.
Is that I now bring a large envelope, and with a marker, put Distinctive Voyage, my name, my cabin number, and give it to guest relations so that they can put them in there, because sometimes they lose them.
Yep.
Because they've got other voyages that they're handling, so I always bring that with me.
Yep. For sure. Some of the celebrity ships have been good about a host mailbox, and others, folks are bringing their own envelope. So yes, that is certainly a good point. I just got an email that somebody needs assistance unmuting. I will try to do that for Miss Brayton. Everybody bear with me. Let me find her. While I'm looking for her and unmuting a couple others, Donna Zabel, I've just unmuted you.
Thank you.
By all means, on the left far column is where you would unmute yourself, but I am going to try and do that for her at least. Can I answer any other questions while I am doing this? So far, so good. All right, Marnie, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
No, but I think that's why you're not getting questions, because normally we're a talkative bunch.
Yeah, and I think we've done this a number of times, so I'm kind of hoping folks are getting the hang of this. It's not.
But it is well appreciated.
Absolutely. If I see hands up, I'm just going to unmute.
Okay. Yeah.
Mary Jarvis, I have unmuted you. Uh-oh. And this is where we get in trouble. Yes.
Right. Phone's ringing. Salita?
Yes.
Thank you for letting me know where the cocktail party will be. This is my first larger group, as you know, and I would like to know if we also are pre-assigned our office hours, or is that done on board?
I
I
make the request for them anyway. I do make the request for the office hours. I look at the sailing schedule, and I request sea days for an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the size of the group.
Okay. I only ask because obviously it's much easier to have everything nicely printed out before getting on ship.
Of course it is. It's not always possible. When they have a number of groups, I got an email this morning from, I think, the Constellation or one of the ships that said, there are a lot of groups requesting time right now. We haven't quite figured it out.
That could be me. I'm on the Constellation.
Oh,
yes.
Well, maybe it was. So
Okay.
it's not always possible, but we do request. I try to do it late morning, but before lunch or in the afternoon. Between 1 and 3 o'clock, but certainly on sea days, you're expected to spend that time.
Okay.
If for some reason you'd like to make an adjustment to those times when you get on board, you're welcome to do that as long as it works. I'm sorry.
Right.
Whoever's in the office, I would like for you to mute yourself again. There you go. So if you want to change your times once you get on board, you're welcome to do that, but do it in conjunction with, the coordinator and seeing what she has available and if it works for their schedule. Because we've already taken all of those things into consideration about 3 to 4 weeks before departure.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. The shore excursion flyer, I did cover that. I do print mine 2 up. Yes, I'm in an office. I have access to do it, but I know some of you are also in offices or savvy enough to copy it reduced and get 2 on a side or 2 on one sheet, side by side, and then cut them. 1, you get more of them when you copy them, and 2, they're the exact size of the folder, so it fits in the pocket nicely. So that's just how I do it. It's a recommendation, not a requirement, but it does look a lot nicer when you can see the whole document in the left pocket. Welcome letters. So this is where I am going to stop and pull up Word and show you how we arrive at the welcome letter. Hopefully you guys have enough time to watch me do this today. All right, I see what you see now, which is PowerPoint. I'm going to minimize that for just a moment. I see that your view is the slide. Okay, perfect. All right, so that moved. We're going to bring up Word. Bear with me for just a second. I'm going to make sure you guys are seeing the same thing.
While you're doing that, Salita, I thank you for, I appreciate getting the mail merge already done, everything's printed out, so we can put all the packets together in advance. And yet this morning I just had an email from Claire that I have a couple more people. Is there some sort of a blank template for this? Maybe it's probably on AgentNet for this letter, rather than having to redo the whole mail merge, since
So
I've
you
already
don't
printed
have
out
to
100.
Yeah, you don't have to redo the letter. What you do is the very last letter in your packet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, copy and paste that letter, hit enter, and you'll be at another page, or you can open up a new Word document.
Okay.
So
And then put in that person's
and yeah,
information.
because you're not adding 20 rarely, you're usually adding
No, I'm just
2
adding
to
a
4.
couple.
Yeah, exactly. So when you need to add a number of letters, the easiest way to do that is to go to the very last letter in your file. Can you guys see Word now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So highlight it, right click on it, copy it, open a new document, and paste it,
Okay.
and create your, extra letters that you need. So this, of course, being the template, I'm going to try and do this. I use 2 to 3 different programs at a time when I'm making your letters. Somebody feel free to speak up as I'm toggling, because I want to make sure that your view is what I'm using at the time. So this is the template. I start here. I know that I need to enter in information here, the name of the tour, the passenger names, as well as the description or the highlights. So generally,
And the company.
yes, the agent. Thank you.
Yes.
Who was that?
And
Thank you. Thank
Marnie.
you. Thank you, Marnie. We just
You're
had that
welcome.
come up this summer. This is
Yes.
somebody's letter I just did earlier today, so this isn't the actual highlighted template. So I put those dashes there so I remember to do that. I'm going to show you what I'm in right now. It is the, come on, final itinerary. So I'm going to use Claire's document for this example to create the letter. I am going to find the key highlights, and I'm just going to highlight the description. I'm going to copy it. I am going to return to Word, and I am going to Control-V paste those right here. In your letters, generally this is a 9-point font, so it's just a hair smaller. And from that same document, I'm not going to take you guys back to it because it pauses a moment to get to the PDF. I am going to copy the name of the tour and come right back to Word. And this will be the long name, so forgive me. I'm just giving you this as the example. Okay, we'll clean this up. Some days it's a lot smoother to get this stuff done. That's 10, all cleaned up for you. All right, so we've got the name of the tour, the description. I've made sure that it's Jill Jones is hosting on this one if that's the case. And now I need to pull the manifest information in here. So I am going to select mailings. And this is where you're taking notes if you want to do this stuff yourself sometimes. Start mail merge, typically you have to select that. I have a list already, so it's going to pop that up. And just to give you all an idea as to how my world looks, this is 2015. Here are all the suppliers. If we go to Celebrity, if you've sailed on Celebrity this year, here are all your host packets. And that's just on one supplier. So we will go to someone in July who's already gone. Let's see. How about the weekend? Nope, that must be facilitated. Oh, they're only going to show me Excel and Word documents. I'll show what a folder looks like when it's all finished. So we'll use this one. Manifest. It shows me that the manifest has been pulled up. Do I want to use it? Yes. And then oftentimes I will remove the host name from the manifest because, I don't want you to print a welcome letter for yourself and your guest. So I will uncheck you guys out of this list and delete it. So one, you don't use the extra letterhead if you don't find yourself, in your documents. And then there's always this blank one that's on the line where it counts the number of passengers if I've totaled it up. So I get that email that says, I don't see myself on the manifest. I paid. Am I booked? Yes, you are, I promise. I just didn't think it was necessary to remind you that you were actually one of the passengers in the group. Now, see, I thought that was funny.
Okay.
See, I have to check and make sure, you guys are still there. So we've got the list. And the way this list is formatted, that column, first name, last name, I'm just going to show you guys that I really... See, I was going to say it. Nobody else is saying it, so that's good. Thanks, whoever caught that. Thank you. First name, we've inserted, and we're inserting the field last name. So there. And then travel agent at, whatever that column is listed as. With celebrity, they list it as agency name branch. Put a space, and if I were to preview it, we now see this couple from this agency going on this tour. All right, everybody follow me? I preview it to make sure that for the most part, everybody's there. And because I'm human, sometimes I've sent some of you somebody else's ship and sail date. It's probably because I did that one before you or after you. Sometimes I try to make sure that, okay, she's on the Constellation, she's leaving the 19th, and I check to see whose name, which host was on the manifest. So there are ways to make sure that you've got the right person. But that's that, and when I'm ready to finish the merge, I want to edit them all individually, and I watch right down here in the bottom left corner to see how many letters I'm sending you. Lately, with the celebrity manifest, they're not putting two people in the same cabin with different last names on the same line. So because I absolutely couldn't edit each of your letters for all of you, but I am saying, hey, look, there are two people in that cabin. They each got a letter. I only sent you, 50 pieces of letterhead. Go through these letters and combine people with different last names that are in the same cabin so you don't run out of letterhead before, you print it all out. So I've asked them to try and go back to putting everyone that's in the same cabin on the same line so that when the merge completes, you have one letter per cabin. Hasn't happened yet. So just be on the lookout for that. I think celebrity is the only one it's happening to, maybe Holland. But it's just something that we've got to do in the meantime so you don't run out of stationery. Any questions about what I just did?
No.
All right. So once I've done this, I am going to save this as go to recent places. I'll put it in, well, let's go back. We'll go to celebrity. I make you a folder and I say it is August 1 test. We'll just call it that for now. And I'm not connected to the network because I'm not at my desk, so I can't even do that. Lovely. I'm going to save it to somebody's August folder, and I promise I won't send you my Constellation Mail merge. We'll call it test webinar. All right. So that's the first bit of how I'm doing this, but I need to show you all what goes in the folder that you all get. I think you should be able to see the screen. Okay, good. You can see my world. And that's where we were again. I told you guys by supplier. We've got everybody's host documents. We'll just do this for fun. And we're going to look at a couple of these because some sailings are different. Now, since Claire put up the VIP at Sea website, some of you have been getting these attached to your host documents. Sometimes a person is paying to join the tour several months in advance or weeks in advance, long before I would send you your host document, so that I don't forget to say, these people have paid, add them to your manifest. When I get the email, I save that email that says, these people have been added, or this is an email from the ship that says, cocktail party time. Any emails that are crucial to your sailing, I save them here and I send them to you as well. So it's a file that I want you to open and print it, or at least read it so that you know what's going on. I saved the notification that went out to the agencies about their passenger being on your excursion. So if I need to go back and, send another one, I don't send these anymore. My colleague Jessica in Minnesota sends these now, but these are the notices that go to the agents the month before the sailing that notifies them that you'll be hosting them on the excursion. It includes your name, their booking number, and generally, to my understanding, the agent forwards them, and we all know some people still don't know that they have the complimentary tour. Your manifest, when I create it, goes there, as well as the welcome letters. We'll find one that's got just a ton going on. Let's see what happened here. Here we go. Your shore excursion flyer. I save that to send it to you. I wait for Claire's document to include it. Manifest. Some people have paid for the tour. So here's what a tour receipt looks like. Some of you have been seeing those, as well as the file of welcome letters. So once I get all of these items in your folder, I'm ready to email you these documents. And when I email them, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 primaries plus the ones that come from host documents available online. These are the items that are in Agent Universe that you can print anytime you get ready. If you wanted to go ahead and get your passenger waiver form done, here's one. Let's see if we can open that. I'll jump back to Word for a moment. You guys see that?
Yep.
Perfect. So, this is stuff you can do. You still need 50 of these or 30 of these. You can print these now if you're sailing in September or October. That doesn't need to wait on your host packet email. With the other item I wanted to point out to you guys, one of the bigger ones is the guest survey. Hang tight. A lot of jumping around here. Okay, you guys can see this one now. Edit this one. Get your name on here, put your ship and sail date ideally, and the cruise line. So Azamara Quest versus just Azamara, because when these come back to me, I want to be able to file them, review them, and go ahead and file them, but I just get the cruise line. So it's really helpful when you put the ship so that I can locate your file quickly. But this is another item that can be done months in advance if you want. It does help when you know how many people are on the sailing. I understand that. if you're sailing and you want to go ahead and print them, you can shoot me an email and say, how many people do I have right now? I want to go ahead and, print my comment cards. I'm glad to look for that kind of information. Those sailing updates, I wish I had the regular reporting to send them out monthly. We just don't get it. It's too inconsistent for me to run every supplier when the data isn't current, or we question it, like we're not sure. And sometimes we're not getting the best number until the month of your sailing, or maybe the month before. So it's been harder to keep up with those. I do miss sending them because it keeps everybody in the loop. So when you all have asked me one-off questions like that, I don't mind answering. Hope we can correct that soon. But I did want you to see things that you can do now that you don't have to wait on me for. And your shore excursion flyer, now that you know where to find those, can anybody tell me one of the places where they can find their shore event flyer?
On Agent Universe.
Agent Universe.
Woohoo! And where's the
Agent
other?
Universe.
The excursions website.
VIP at sea.
.com. Perfect.
That's it.
Perfect. So the primary items you are really waiting on me for is your manifest and your welcome letters. The dates and time sheet, I think 8 times out of 10 you guys are taking them with you. And I think on Crystal and some celebrity, when they're really busy, you're having to wait for it until that week before you go. And there's nothing I can do about that, but wait for it. I will show you what a request looks like. If I can find a way to do that, I will. Stand by. All right, I think you're seeing the screen again now. Perfect. All right. We'll go into our system, attempt to. I don't think anybody's going to commit any espionage to get into crazy Salesforce on me. So, oh good, you can't see my password anyway. Ha ha. Where are all my comedians this month? Man, you guys are usually more energetic than this. Let's go. We'll pick this ship. We'll try and find an old one. Let's say something that's 16. Good Lord, 17. Christina's been busy. See, guys, she's working on dates pretty far out. Last December. I'll look at this one. So sometimes we can see the counts for, okay, by the time she left, she was at 65 passengers out of the 32. That's not the best example. I want a really big one to find. I'll see if I can find something coming up. Jill, you're getting ready to leave, right? Anybody else departing on Celebrity in August?
In August, I'm departing Saturday, or Monday is the ship sailing, the 27th.
All right.
Silhouette.
Yeah, that's you. Let's see. So 98 as of she got reporting 2 days ago. So Celebrity just gave us that update on the 21st. So 98.
The extra 2 that Claire told me.
Yeah, probably. So that's where those numbers come in, and they don't send them directly to me anymore. I get a manifest, but it's only after our analyst has uploaded that information into the system and verified that we've gotten everybody that we should, and sometimes that takes time. They enter the tours into our system anywhere from 3 to 6 months out. Like I said, this information comes from Claire. They send it to Christina, she approves the tours, and then they get uploaded by our e-commerce team. So this is the information that I look to. when you ask, and if I need to find a flyer for you, I come here and I opened it, but this is what they poured into Agent Universe also. Um, let's see. So your request for your cocktail party, we send that out. We ask for the time. So let's see. This is for how many people? At the time I requested it, you had 90, so you've only grown by 8. We requested from 5 to 6 on day 2. They have to respond to me to tell me where it's going to be, if it's going to be in Quasar, Sky Lounge, or whatever venue. We
Right.
tell them what to print in the invitations, what type of food, and what alcohol is available. We do ask them to set aside time to meet with you. They're expecting you anyway because of this request that we submit to them. But on Celebrity, they're generally asking that you see them after the muster drill or after dinner if you have a clean manifest with no issues. And now that I've been sending the ship the same manifest you get, you guys pretty much have the same information.
Okay. And this morning you sent an email that said the cocktail party was now moved to 6:30.
Yes, so she's emailed me since I requested it because she had to make a change. So that's a perfect example. They asked me, do you want a desk? Yes, absolutely. And it's going to be on C days from 1 to 2:30 because of the size of your group.
Okay.
So if you get a lot of people coming to see you, that hour is going to go by quick. So,
And is that every C day then, or
the C days that lead up to your excursion.
up before?
Yes.
Obviously, as soon as I said that, I realized, duh. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
So if you have a long sailing, no, I'm not going to put you on every sea day, but I will put you on
Right.
every sea day up until your excursion numbers deadline for sure. And
And
sometimes
possibly
I
one
will
after to collect.
one after.
One after.
Exactly.
Yeah, to collect information.
Yep.
Collect the forms.
And when it comes
Okay.
to sharing your cabin number with passengers, I don't mind as long as you don't mind taking the calls, and I want you to check the messages because you've offered your number to them. I ask people to check in with guest relations because I know oftentimes you're not in your cabin that often. You're enjoying the activities like everyone else, but we expect that you check in the morning, midday, and before you go to bed at night for messages, if any, or to grab a house phone, pick it up, and check your room voicemail occasionally. And that goes for everyone. That's how that works. So yes, please share your cabin number, but check your voicemail because they will call if they need you. So that's what the inside looks like for me. No, you don't have to make arrangements on board. That's one task, just sending this request to the ships. That entails me going to, say I am going to make a request, I go to Google and I type in celebrity reflection. Here's one I've had to look up. So I find any website. It doesn't even matter whose it is, as long as they've got the sailing itinerary. For the most part, I use 1 or 2 sites that have it current. And this is already passed, so their website doesn't keep it historically. Let's use another one. What's your sail date? It's the 27th?
27th, yes.
July 27th. And is it reflection? No.
No, it's the silhouette.
Your silhouette. Somebody, the 31st, that would be die. Silhouette. I pull up the sailing. I'm looking to see how many sea days you have. I'm like, okay, cool, cocktail party right here.
Right.
If you're port intensive and I see you're getting back on at 7 and you're out all day, I'm like, okay, most folks don't want to get back on the ship right at 7. They don't want to have to jump to get on, so they're back by 6, 6:30. So give them time to change. They can have it 7:30 to 8:30. So, I mean, I am taking all of those things into consideration, and I'm looking for the holes in your calendar, and I'm going, okay, so the tour is in Helsinki. We've got 2 sea days. Yeah, the cocktail's on that day, but maybe she'll meet people before the cocktail. So you've got office hours in the morning, and you're going to see them at the cocktail that night.
Okay.
That's my logic when I'm planning those things for you on board. When we've talked in advance and you say, Selita, can we have them from 1 to 2? I try to remember that, But if you're putting it on a pre-cruise form that I'm seeing 6 months before you're sailing, the likelihood of me remembering that you made that note on your fax when I paid for your cabin for your sailing 6 months away, I probably didn't get that right. So don't beat me up, just work with the OBC to change it. But that's where people ask me for things like that, and I'm like, how am I supposed to remember that? It's so far away. So that's one piece of how I start my process for you all before I even get to creating the 4 or 5 documents that eventually have to be mailed to you. Half the time I am the person counting the stickers, all 222 of them for one group this month, and then I give the envelope that I've handwritten, stuck your stickers inside with your name badges. I've licked or taped your envelope, and I've put them in date order with the other 38 people leaving this month, and I give it to the mailroom and say, hey, here is the mailing list, here's their label. Make sure that, one, they have enough letterhead. I said they needed 50 sheets. Why'd she call me and say she only has 39? You know, that stuff drives me nuts, but I make every effort to pad your order so that you get at least 10 more than you need. But when I hear that you're getting less, it is disappointing, and I don't mind sending it out. I just can't always get it done.
Yeah, on the, last year there was I guess it might have been, is it on AgentNet? There is a template you had to create additional letterhead. I used that last
Yes,
year.
it's right here.
Okay.
Printable stationery.
So it's not, that's why it's not a big deal if they don't send out a whole the right amount.
Yeah, if you're
It's not
missing
hard.
a few sheets, this is where I
Sure.
want you to go. I mean, I do get the email that
Yeah,
says,
it's easy
can you
enough.
FedEx me, 10 more sheets? And I'm like, is it really worth it?
No, just
Not really. Does it have to be the exact same paper? Not really. Would it look nicer? Sure, but for sake
I
of
found,
your time and ours, this is...
Yeah, I found using some nice 24-pound paper instead of my usual 20-pound paper worked just fine for making printable stationery. It looked just about the same.
Okay.
Okay. I printed it too. Although I can't get it, there's a little gap at the top. I don't know if there's something off.
Sometimes, yeah.
Let's see. Let's check it out.
When I print it, it looks fine online, but preview. But when I print it, there's a
True, but I don't think anyone notices. It's.
I also, when I do the comment card, I print it out on a colored piece of paper. That way I can actually say to the people, the yellow piece of paper is the comment card.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I don't see the gap, but that's interesting. I will let Anne Marie know. Maybe they can modify it just a little bit for you. But if you're short a couple of sheets, this is where you go to print them out. I'm not a fan of seeing it in black and white, but if you're an at-home agent and that's what you have available to you, I'm not going to beat you over the head about it. But, you do have a little bit of padding in your office supply expense to, email this to Staples and say, hey, I need 10 sheets of this if you plan on going for, some other supply that you need anyway. Have them run you some off on color, and then you can stick them in your printer. If you're not aware, I'm a big Staples fan. When I need things, I have my copy center's email address. Like, they have a email address that's like CS1920, so maybe that's their store number at staples.com. They will give you the copy center's email address for files. That's how they take their client orders, and send it to them first. And if you're not going until after the business day, it'll be ready for you when you get there. They send you an email back that says, we've received your request, so they got it, and just call to follow up. I sent a PDF to you. I need 20 sheets of that, but give them instructions in your email. This is Donna Zabel. This is my cell phone number. I'd like to pick this up at 6 o'clock, and I need 30 sheets. I think every copy center has that, available to them. Well, they will take your file. So you don't have to stand around the counter and wait to get some help. That's how I handle that. So do we have any questions about any of these documents or items that can be pulled from Agent Universe? I know I went over my time today. I'm sorry, but I wanted to make sure we got through it all. Let me run back to the presentation for a moment. We'll go back to PowerPoint and wrap up. So you guys have seen the, let's see, I don't want to hit that. Let's go current slide. Welcome letter, dates and times. I am putting what day when I can on these now. When you guys edit them, put the day. And we've gone over this. You guys know what the manifest looks like. After your cruise, at this point, now that we have certify, I will say keep your receipts and your expense report related items until your direct deposit has hit your account. I will also say about certify that yes, you think you uploaded the receipts. I'm sure you tried to upload the receipts, but I still can't see them. That means they're sitting in your cell phone, but you haven't synced. Push the sync button. It's like 2 rotating arrows. So when I get it, I see no receipts. So make sure that you're syncing certify when you upload your receipts and submit the report, because I'm having to reject or disapprove so that it comes back to you because I can't see the receipts. The only 2 items you can submit your expenses for that do not require the receipt is the tip items for cocktail and tour. Everything else, right down to your postage, even if you have to snap a picture of the box, just so I don't hear from accounting that we need a receipt, please add something there. If you used your own supplies in the office, you guys are business professionals, create a receipt like they used to do back in the day with the taxis. You needed a taxi receipt, make one from your agency, put, how much you think you spent within reason. It's certainly approvable. As long as you don't go over the max allowances, you can use your own stuff, no problem. But one of the things I think I've brought up before is don't go out and buy that $75 toner cartridge and attribute it all to your sailing, because we know that you can get up to 2,000 sheets on a cartridge and you only had 22 passengers. So you can't claim it all, but you can claim a few bucks of it. I would say it's 5 to 10 cents a sheet now, maybe, to print black and white. Maybe that's color now. I haven't done it in a while, but be reasonable, because they do look at that and then they'll send me an email and then I got to ask you, and who wants to do all that? So you are mailing me by mail your waiver forms, comment cards, host report. I do like getting that as the cover sheet to those items. It's the survey where you ask, or we ask you about the experience, that particular sailing, the staff, feedback for us. I do still need to get that by mail. And your logbook, if you don't want to email it, print it. And people say, what do we put in it? Some days there may be nothing there, but if on day 2 you had 6 people come and ask you questions, or someone from CrewCon or VTG got upset, I'm hoping that on that date you've noted that's what took place. And I think I'm comfortable now with you all sending me pictures by email, but don't send more than 6 to 10 because our email can't handle it. And I'll start trying to save those to the server and to the Google page. I'll try that this fall and see how it works, since people are still having a hard time with it. And that's what we need to get by mail. That is the extent of it. I'm praying that it was helpful. I have about 5 to 7 minutes for questions. If you don't have any, you are welcome to leave the call. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I'm sorry I talked a lot. And we'll get through summer together. It's almost over.
Thanks,
Don't say
Alita.
that.
Thank you.
Always. You guys are so welcome. Have a good week, rest of the week.
Thanks.